BookTube. I'm here today to finally answer the Q&A questions I asked for a few months ago. Sorry, life has just been so hectic. I haven't had time to sit down and film until now. So that's what I'm trying to do. So yes, first of all, thank you for 1,000 subscribers. I see it's now 1,200 and something. Like, that's amazing. But I'm gonna answer these questions. Okay, first question is from Laura Frey. How do you feel about your local literary scene, and do you go to readings and author signings, etc.? I live in quite a small town, because we do have a few like author readings and stuff, but they're held at like these really expensive restaurants and I can't afford to go eat there, so I tend to just give them a skip, and they're not really something that I'm interested in at the same time, so within my town, no. I do travel to Toronto to go to different events. My favorite one is Word on the Street, which is like a giant book festival down on the harbor front. Oh, it's amazing. So Stephanie at That's What She Said asked, what is an underrated classic you love and a favorite horror book? Underrated classic, I'm going to have to go with an underrated Canadian classic. Let's stick to my brand there. And go with an early science fiction classic as well, so like everything that I love. And that's A Strange Manuscript Found in a Copper Cylinder by James DeMille. It is a fantastic book about these ritzy people out on their yacht, and they find a copper cylinder with a strange manuscript in it that describes this journey of this explorer who has found this other society that is the complete opposite of Victorian society. So it's better to be poor. If you find someone that you love, you have to separate yourselves from them. And a favorite horror book, I haven't read a lot of horror, but I had to go with House of Leaves because that is very unsettling. I remember when I was reading it, I couldn't sleep with my door closed because I was like, that hallway is something's gonna happen in the hallway. I can't deal with it. So Sue at Sue's Book Nook asked, what is your favorite genre to read? Do you enjoy any hobbies outside of reading? What are your favorite TV shows, movies, and favorite childhood book? So my most favorite genre to read, currently right now, it's like postmodern, experimental literature, and overall just science fiction. Those are my favorite genres. My hobbies outside of reading, just the normal ones, watching movies, TVs. I love cooking and baking, writing, retro video games, and I recently got into Pathfinder, which is like Dungeons and Dragons, so that's, you know, stuff that I'm doing. Favorite TV shows, my all-time favorite TV show is Stargate Atlantis, and also Murdoch Mysteries. It's a great Canadian detective show set in the early 20th century. Really amazing. Yeah, those are my all-time favorite. All-time favorite movies, 12 Angry Men, and any of those like children's movies from like the 80s, 90s, like Willow, Neverending Story, Labyrinth, like those kind of movies I love. Favorite childhood books, a lot of Roald Dahl. I loved The Twits. I read that over and over and over again. The Big Friendly Giant as well. I read that all in one sitting when I was younger, and I was so impressed with myself. I was like, this book is so big, and I read it all at once, and let's go back to the beginning and read it all over again. There's also a book called The Root Cellar by Janet Lunn, which is about a girl who goes back in time. Matilda Gothica asked, why the channel name? Why did you join BookTube? What books do you love to read most? So why the channel name? It used to be Pickles Reads, but I changed it over to Courtney Pickles, this because it sounds more mature. And Pickles is not my real last name. I didn't want to share my real last name, because it's kind of exclusive to my family, like no one else but our family has this last name. Why did I join BookTube? I was just looking for an outlet to share my opinion, and I really liked what others were doing at the time that I joined, and so I just decided to join in and do it. I love talking about books. What books do I love to read the most? I love heavily descriptive books. I like books that aren't afraid to play with language. For me, books, the writing style kind of trumps everything. As long as the writing style is good, I'll like the book. Adriana C. asked, what are your top 5 bands or artists, and what are your top 5 movies of all time? Top 5 artists, Him, which are a love metal band. I absolutely adore them. I have their symbol tattooed on me, minus the dog print that was added. Yeah, so I love that band, obviously. Fall Out Boy, just for the nostalgic reasons. And their Mania was actually really awesome. Rufus Wainwright, Two Gallants, and Glenn Gould, who's a pianist, who's just amazing. I kind of like covered all the genres there. I think I like a lot of variety in my music. Top 5 favorite movies, The Fall, which is a great movie about a man telling a little girl a story. Shoot 'Em Up, which is just plain for action and craziness. The History Boys, Star Wars, because you can't not include Star Wars, and I already said 12 Angry Men and all those movies, Willow Labyrinth, The Dark Crystal, Neverending Story. That's more than 5, but there you go. Ingrid Fitz asked, have you read any Isaac Asimov? A few years ago. It's been a while since I've read anything by him. I do plan on rereading the first few Foundation books later this year, though. Will at My Bookish Empire said, what would you recommend I do in order to complete Infinite Jest? Just pick it up and read it. That's the best thing that you can do. It's huge, so give it 200 pages before you decide that you don't want to read it, because something happens at that place that just really hits the whole book in perspective. I'd also recommend that you have 3 bookmarks ready. One to mark where you are in the footnotes, one to mark where you are in the actual book, and one to mark the page with the dates. But don't go looking for the page with the dates until you get to it, because spoilers. And read the footnotes while you're reading the story, because that back and forth motion is very important. And don't give up. I mean, it's one of the most amazing experiences that you can have in your reading, in my opinion. Sarah Hall asked, how would you create a reading environment for young people to encourage and inspire reading? So, in case you don't know, I am qualified to teach high school English. Am I doing that currently? No, but I am qualified to do that, and so I have strong opinions about encouraging young people to read. So reading is all about finding what works for an individual reader. So I know it's time consuming, but actually helping kids find the right fit for them is totally worth it. I had this one kid in a class who refused to read. He's just like, what's the point of reading? Blah, blah, blah. I don't ever see this. And so he had to read for his English class. I went with him to the library, talked to the teacher, I said, can we just find a book for him to read instead of this required reading stuff? And they found out his interests, and I found a novel about it. It was about motocross. And he was actually surprised that there were books besides like Shakespeare, To Kill a Mockingbird, and all these other classics that schools tend to fall back on. I don't know about other education systems, but in the Ontario education, you know, the curriculum, it doesn't dictate what books you need to use. So, teachers have to realize that you can't use the same book for everyone all the time. You know, they have to realize that you can't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree. Not every student is academically inclined, and we need to provide options for them to complete the curriculum. You know, so if they want to read a graphic novel, let them use a graphic novel or an audiobook or a middle grade book. You know, as long as they're reading at this point, you know, use something that the students want to learn with. You know, and lessons can be planned around general themes or topics that multiple books share, which also makes learning conversations like more interesting and engaging, as opposed to just, you know, reading the same book and everyone has the same opinions and there's no point in talking about it, right? But if you have different books, then, you know, the conversation gets more interesting. Jeff Harper asked, apart from BookTube, what things do you do? Oh, and I noticed the color tags in your books. Do I have a book? Oh, bad example, but yes, there's color tags in that book there. Do you try to critique books for yourself and/or BookTube, or just note interesting words, phrases, ideas, etc., but let the words flow? First question. Outside of BookTube, I used to work a lot. I was working 16-hour days, 6 days a week, and just recently in March I was allowed to quit one job and just concentrate on the other job, and I've had a lot of free time and it's really cool. Yeah, so I play Pathfinder, I said. I work in my parents' store. Yeah, and I just sit around and enjoy not having to wake up at 6 in the morning and having to help people. I'm enjoying it. The tags. I pulled out this book I just finished reading, Jerusalem Book 1 by Alan Moore. Lots of tags. Basically, I love the idea of engaging with a book, but I don't like to disrupt my reading. So what I do is I use these, and I use this as a bookmark actually, so I always have the tags with me, like that, and then I just set it down wherever, reading, I find something interesting, pull off the tag, stick it on the page, and move on. And then afterwards what I do is I go, and that's where oh, this one's not very obvious, I either just use my pen to mark the passage, or write notes in it, underline, that kind of stuff. And the colors don't really mean anything, it's just kind of whatever I grab because I don't want to disrupt my reading. Yeah, that's what the tags are for, and it's pretty much just for my own enjoyment, my own recollection, thinking I remember that passage, but you know, I don't want to have to flip through the whole book looking for that passage. I can just look for the tags and what I've highlighted or not on the page. So yeah, that's it. That's what the tags are for. Deborah Hefner asked Infinite Jest or House of Leaves, and seriously, you're gonna make me choose. I'd have to say Infinite Jest is more organic, so I'm gonna go with Infinite Jest. Christy at One Book More asked, where is your favorite place to acquire books? Where is your preferred spot to read? And what is your favorite breakfast food? My favorite place to acquire books is actually thrift stores, usually my local ones, like the Salvation Army, the ones for the hospital and for the SPCA, because the books are only like 50 cents to $1, and how can you beat that? My favorite spot to read, I guess bed is the best spot because you can like lie down fully or sit up or go into any position really. My favorite breakfast food, that's hard, because I love breakfast food. You know what I had yesterday for breakfast, and I really actually enjoyed it. It's gonna be weird. A grilled cheese sandwich. Yeah. So let's go with a grilled cheese sandwich for breakfast. Michael at Catalyst Reads asked, would you do more videos such as the one you did a while back called BookTube Sucks? I'd love to. I have a few planned, but they do take a lot of time and preparation and trying to keep my face serious, which is very hard to do. I crack up so easily, and a lot of editing. So I'm hoping to do that. It's also like daunting because you're afraid that it's not going to be good enough, because you are acting, you're not just giving up your opinion. And I'm not a very good actor, so yeah, I do have a few planned though. Bree Hill asked, what is one book you wish you could go back and reread and experience for the first time all over again? She also asked, who's the author, or what is the book you'll never stop recommending? And if you could have any author write your life stories, who would it be? And off the top of your head, what are your 3 favorite movies? I already answered the favorite movies thing. But reread, that's hard because second and third readings always, you know, add extra enjoyment to books I really love. I think if I absolutely had to choose to like forget something and read it completely fresh and new, it would be anything by Edgar Allan Poe, because just the twists are amazing and what really makes his books in horror enjoyable. As for author book recommendations, depends on the person. Someone looking for like a mature, well-written YA, which I have a lot of problems with YA, but I wouldn't hesitate to recommend Meg Rossoff. But for more experienced readers who are looking for something harder, I definitely recommend like James Joyce's Dubliners. Even if you just read like the story The Dead, it's amazing. Who would I get to write my life story? Anita Rao Badami. I know she mostly writes about like people from India and Pakistan, but she can take such simple everyday stories and make them really beautiful. So yeah, I think she'd be able to take my very kind of non-eventful life and make it into a beautiful story anyways. And Jess at Jess Starfire asked, favorite graphic novel or comic series? Fables is amazing. I haven't finished, so I can't say like everything about it is amazing, but it is really amazing. Injustice: Gods Among Us, if you're into superheroes, that is like mind-blowing. Like Batman versus Superman is my favorite trope in graphic novels and superhero graphic novels. And also Bones is really good for any level. It's just such a really good story. That's it. I've been talking for 20 minutes, so I'm gonna shut up now. Thank you for all your questions, and sorry it took me such a long time to get to them, and thank you for subscribing. If you have any more questions, I'll answer them in the description box. Thank you.